Get ready, Padres fans. It's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis hit third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Washington Nationals in the final game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Nationals, left-hander Patrick Corbin, and for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. Hi again everyone, Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 9:05 a.m. We appreciate you joining us for a little Padres and pancakes on it this Thursday morning. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, you'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Plus, in a little while, we'll hear from Padres radio voice Jesse Agler, our keys to the game, and much, much more to come. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres enter today with a record of 54-50 after losing the opener of this 9-game road trip. The Padres have now won 4 in a row, 2 games in Cleveland and 2 games against the Nationals. Meanwhile, Washington enters today 47-55. Padres are 5-0 against the Nats so far in 2024. The Padres swept them here in San Diego back in June. Now they try to make it a perfect 6-0 against the Nats this season. The Padres enter today just 1 game back in the loss column of the St. Louis Cardinals for the 3rd and final wild card spot in the National League. Before we turn our full attention to today's game, let's take a look back at what went down in D.C. yesterday.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
The Padres trailed 3-0 after just 1 inning, but in the top of the second, there were 2 in scoring position for Luis Arraez.
Arraez hits it hard up the middle, into left center, and a base hit. Kim will score. Jackson Merrill's right behind him. A 2-out, 2-run single for Arraez, and now a 1-run game here in the second inning.
Jurickson Profar was next.
Profar swings, hits it in the air to deep center field. Young is racing straight back. He is at the wall, looks up, gonna go! 2-run home run, Jurickson Profar. And the Padres have hopped in front. It's 4-3.
Padres then got back to work in the top of the 3rd. Runners on first and third base for Kyle Higashioka.
First pitch to Higashioka, line down the left field side. That's a fair ball. Wood going to cut it off in front of the fence. That will prevent Merrill from coming in to score, but Higashioka slides feet first into second with an RBI double as Kim crosses the plate, and the Padre lead is 5-3.
Padres had a 6-3 lead going to the 4th inning. Runners on second and third for Jake Cronenworth.
Pitch here, hit hard on a line into center field and a base hit. Profar has scored. Bogart's on his way. Young comes up firing the tag, not in time. Xander ended up going in standing up. A 2-run single for Cronenworth. And the Padre lead is 8-3.
Later in the inning, a runner on first base for Jackson Merrill.
Merrill swings, hits it in the air to right center field. He has found the gap. He's going to do some more damage. Kim is on his way towards third. He's going to be waved. Merrill's rounding second, heading for third. Abrams throw, not in time. A triple for Merrill. He's 3 for 3 and already a homer shy of the cycle in only the 4th inning.
Then it was Higgy.
1-0 to Higashioka, hit in the air to deep left field. Wood is back to watch. This one gonna go! 2-run homer, Kyle Higashioka. His 12th of the year, and the Padres are all over the Nationals, 11-3 in the top of the 4th.
The Padres putting together a 5-run fourth inning. To that point, they had 11 runs on 13 hits through just 4 innings. Manny Machado made it 12-3 with an RBI double in the 5th. Matt Waldron went 6 innings, allowed just the 3 early runs. The bullpen was great. Final score yesterday in D.C. The Padres 12 and the Nationals 3. Let's go out to Nationals Park in D.C.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Jesse, the story of this 4-game winning streak begins with what the Padres have done on the mound. The pitching has just been fantastic lately, and today the Padres turn to a guy in Dylan Cease who has been simply dominant. In the larger context of this pitching staff and this team, what is this particular version of Dylan Cease bring?
I mean, he's as electric as anybody in the league right now, and he seems like he's bringing no-hit stuff to the mound every single time out there. And while none of us would turn away an actual no-hitter, it gives you a pretty good idea of just how incredible he's been. I mean, it reminds me of peak Blake Snell. You know, not necessarily, you know, the ability to strike out that many guys, as many as Blake, although he gets plenty, obviously, of strikeouts. But, you know, efficient, electric, untouchable at times, and not only is he, you know, devastating them with the breaking ball and keeping everybody off balance with that, he's also able to overpower guys with the fastball. The last two in particular have just been about as good as it gets for Dylan Cease, and a heck of a lot of fun to watch.
Jesse, on the other side of this pitching matchup today is lefty Patrick Corbin. He's typically been very hittable, but I think important to note, he's been pretty good lately. So on paper, this seems like the Padres have maybe an advantage today, especially considering what they did with the lineup yesterday. Your thoughts on this matchup against Corbin today in this series finale?
Yeah, we saw Corbin back in that first game at Petco that the Padres eventually walked off. He pitched pretty well. That's his longest outing of the season. He went 7 against the Pods that night. You know, we've seen him a million times over the years with Arizona and now the Nationals. It's been a really, really tough go for him here. But, you know, he's finally got himself to 99 career wins. He was stuck on 98 forever. And, you know, going out there looking for his 100th career win. Look, he's a pro's pro, and I know it's been tough. Gives up a lot of hits. You know, he's very touchable in that way. But he knows how to pitch. And he's not going to get rattled out on the mound or anything like that. So we could have ourselves a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel. But, yeah, I mean, as you kind of alluded to there, if the Padre offense is going to have the kind of night that they had yesterday, again here today, it could get tough for him because they have shown extraordinary patience at the dish in these last few games. And even when it hasn't necessarily paid off in terms of runs and hits, it has eventually paid off in those games. And look, Mitchell Parker going 3 innings yesterday, DJ Hurst going 5 innings, and the fact that they used 5 relievers after that in Game 1 here on Tuesday. You know, the Nationals bullpen is probably not in the best spot ever right now. And so if the Padres are able to run Corbin's pitch count way up, they could find themselves facing a fatigued reliever or maybe a guy that Davey Martinez would prefer avoiding. So, yeah, it's kind of a fun matchup for sure.
And even though the Padres offense didn't score in the first inning last night, you and Tony made the point that making Mitchell Parker throw 31 pitches early, you could kind of tell from early on they were on Parker. Let's talk a little bit more about the offense, and in particular, Jackson Merrill had 4 hits last night, a home run shy of the cycle. Jesse, of all the impressive things he's done this rookie season, to me, his ability to quickly break out of mini slumps has been among the most remarkable. What is it to you about Merrill, whether physically or mentally, that has allowed him to make adjustments and bounce back so quickly for such a young player?
I'm with you. That's the most impressive part of his season. And I'm not going to lie. Friday night in Cleveland, you know, last week when he struck out all 4 times, I thought, uh-oh, here we go. You know, every rookie has his moment, right? And, you know, the strikeout numbers had really spiked a little bit for him. I think he'd only struck out 3 times once, and that was all the way back Game 2 of the season against the Dodgers. He struck out all 4 times. You could see body language-wise there was a little bit of frustration there, maybe pressing a little bit. And, you know, I had the thought, and I don't think it's an unreasonable one for a 21-year-old rookie, that, all right, probably going to be a couple of weeks here where things are tough for Jackson Merrill. And then the next night in Cleveland, got a couple of hits, still struck out 3 times, and I kind of was in my own mind like, all right, the hits were good. I wasn't necessarily expecting that, but still 3 strikeouts, I'm not sure. And then he went 0 for 3 on the Sunday game, and then it was like, bang. We showed up here on Tuesday, and he was right back to being himself. Obviously, the 4 hits last night, really showing that he's moved past whatever little mini slump that may have been. It is a remarkable thing. It's just not something we often see guys of his age and experience do, snap out of a funk that quickly. And there is definitely a mental toughness component of it. I think also he's got a very consistent swing. He's talked about how his mechanics haven't gotten out of whack. It's just a little bit of, one of those things that happens. And for, a guy like that to be able to have the mental fortitude to kind of say, all right, I know, that it's gonna be a challenge at times, but I'm not gonna panic. I'm not gonna make an adjustment that I don't necessarily need to make. That shows, I think, wisdom well beyond his years.
Very well said, Jesse. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up at 8:55 here in San Diego as the Padres go for a 3-game sweep and a season sweep of the Washington Nationals. Thanks so much.
You got it, Sam.
All right, that's Jesse Agler joining us from Nationals Park in D.C. Again, first pitch at 9:05 a.m. We go out to Jesse and Tony at 8:55, and a good pitching matchup here today. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres, left-hander Patrick Corbin on the mound for Washington. As always, if you're tuned in with us on this Thursday morning, you can get involved in our pregame coverage in a variety of different ways. You can tweet at me at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DMs open as well. Sammy Lev there, too. You can also comment on our various video streams, including on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel. Let me know 2 things this morning. Number 1, what is your key to today's game? How do the Padres get a 5th consecutive win? And number 2, as we always do on our Padres and Pancakes mornings, how are you getting ready to enjoy Padres baseball on this Thursday morning? You got the cup of coffee ready, you got some pancakes, maybe a waffle, maybe some cereal, maybe oatmeal, maybe a donut. Let me know. Send me a photo, Twitter, Instagram. Let me know how you're getting ready to enjoy Padres baseball as they wrap up this series in D.C. We hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt when we come back on the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres radio network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you as we get ready for today's game between the Padres and the Washington Nationals, the final game of this three-game series. Padres going for a series sweep for a fifth consecutive win. And oh, by the way, if they win today against the Nats, that would be a 6-0 season record against Washington in the second sweep of the season against the Nationals. Let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Well, the Padres fell behind yesterday 3-0, but they erased that deficit really, really quickly. 12 runs, all unanswered on ultimately what would be 20 hits in the game. 4 runs in the second, 2 runs in the third, 5 runs in the fourth inning, and 1 more in the fifth inning. The Padres, again, went to the top of the second, down 3-0. And you look at that top of the second inning, there were 2 outs and runners on second and third. Then Luis Arraez dug in, and he had what I think you could argue was one of the bigger hits of the game, because if the Padres don't score in that second inning and they're still down 3-0, who knows what happens, but he has a 2-run single. Moments later, Jerkson Profar, a home run to put the Padres ahead. Here was Mike Shildt after yesterday's game talking about the Padres' rally in the top of the second.
You know, you're down 3. They put together some good at-bats. We get down, obviously. Immediately come back. Kimmy starts off the walk. Jackson, big swing, second and third. But we got 2 outs. We got Louis up there. Boom, nice little base hit. Okay, here we go again. 3-2 to Ace's point earlier. Longer first inning. Now we extend him a little bit in the second. Pro gets a pitch, doesn't miss it. Now we got the lead and kept going from there.
I think this is a pretty good example of what you guys are capable of offensively when everything's clicking, given the way you work pitchers and the way you can kind of string hits together and at-bats together.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do it. We don't always get the results every night, but, you know, generally speaking, more than not, we take a relentless at-bats. Tonight was, again, you know, 1 through 9 team contribution, complete relentless at-bats. Nobody gave anything away. Good situational hitting. Guys aware of what they were doing, had a good plan. Able to execute it, just great at-bats throughout. Bogey continues to take great at-bats, just who he is. Manny, good at-bats, again. Jackson, of course, great at-bats. And, you know, Higgy with the big swing as well.
Matt's knuckleball got better after the first. Seemed like maybe there were some flat ones early.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. Matt has the ability and shown the ability to get better as the game goes. And I give him a lot of credit. He righted his ship, you know. Wasn't you know, as sharp as he'd like to be. Didn't get the result he wanted early on in the first, and but didn't feel sorry for himself. You know, him and Higgy worked together, figured out what he needed to do to make an in-game adjustment, how to compete, and next thing you know, we're in a good situation where he's gotten 6 strong innings and pitched well with the lead. It was a tremendous outing.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt after last night's 12-3 win against the Washington Nationals. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game show coming up later on today. First pitch coming up at 9:05 a.m. in Washington, D.C. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Xander Bogaerts in the hot category for the Padres. 4 hits in last night's game. He's had at least 2 hits in 6 out of his 7 games since coming off the IL. Bogaerts, since returning from the IL, is 14 for 29. All singles, but he's putting bat on ball, which to me is an encouraging sign. So Xander Bogaerts in the hot category. Jackson Merrill in the hot category as well. His last 4 games, batting .471 in 18 at-bats with 3 extra base hits. Luis Arraez getting a day off today, but he is in the midst of a 6-game hitting streak, 10 for 25 in that span. We'll see if Luis comes off the bench at any point today. Juan Yepez for the Nationals hit a home run early in yesterday's game in the midst of a 15-game hitting streak, the longest active streak in the major league. leagues. He's batting .368 in that span with a .429 on-base percentage. Of his 20 hits in that hitting streak, 10 have gone for extra bases. We take a look at the not category. Let's begin with the Padre, Ha-Sung Kim, 0 for 3 last night. Since July 9th, he's batting just .161 in a span of 31 at-bats. And for the Nationals in the not category, James Wood batting .167 in his last 48 at-bats with 19 strikeouts in a 12-game span. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 9:05 in Washington, D.C. Padres going for a 5th consecutive win for a series sweep against the Nationals. Now let's take a look at some headlines from around the major leagues.
What's the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball? Sam Levitt takes you around the horn on the Padres Radio Network.
We go around the horn. Some headlines from yesterday and today in the major leagues. Let's begin with the Subway Series. The Mets beat the Yankees again last night, sweeping the season Subway Series from the Yanks. They had 2 wins at Citi Field last month, 2 wins in the last 2 days at Yankee Stadium. On the morning of May 30th, the Yankees were 38-19. The Mets were 22-33. Since then, the Yankees are 22-25. And the Mets are 31-15. So it's going on a couple of great months for the Mets and a couple of really bad months for the Yankees. Now, the Yankees still are right in the midst of their division race, the wild card picture certainly, but they have not played well for nearly 2 months. Mets beat them again yesterday to sweep that season Subway Series. Robbie Ray made his Giants debut last night in his return from Tommy John surgery after the Giants traded for him during the offseason. He was great. 5 no-hit innings on 86 pitches. Giants beat the Dodgers 8-3. Before the game, the Dodgers signed free agent shortstop Nick Ahmed. He was in their lineup yesterday. That's after Miguel Rojas was put on the IL. Mookie Betts also still on the IL for LA. Clayton Kershaw returns to the mound later today against the Giants, his season debut after he had off-season shoulder surgery. Rockies beat the Red Sox yesterday 20-7. It tied a Rockies franchise record for runs scored. The Red Sox, meanwhile, have reached a 3-year contract extension with their manager Alex Cora that will make him the second highest paid manager in the major leagues. It's reportedly a 3-year contract for nearly $22 million. Cora was in the last year of his current deal. The Chicago White Sox, you want to talk about not going well. They lost 10-2 against the Rangers yesterday. They've lost 10 in a row. They are now 50 games under 500. The White Sox are the first team since the expansion Mets in 1962 to lose 77 of their first 104 games. That team, the Mets in 62, they went on to lose 120. That is what the White Sox are maybe facing in 2024. One other note, Blue Jays outfielder and 4-time Gold Glove winner Kevin Kiermaier told reporters that he plans to retire at the end of the season. Kiermaier is in his 11th major league season, batting just .191 so far this year with the Jays. And that's a look at a bunch of the headlines from around Major League Baseball as we get ready for a nice slate of games on this Thursday. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later. When we come back, we have our keys to the game. We'll also read some of your tweets, Instagram DMs, and YouTube comments, your keys to the game. And also, as always, we want to know, how are you getting ready to enjoy Padres baseball on this Thursday morning? You got the coffee in hand. You've got the pancakes, the waffles, the cereal, the oatmeal, maybe hash browns on the griddle. Send me a photo. Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. First pitch coming up at 9:05 in Washington, D.C. on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. First pitch coming up at 9:05 a.m. in Washington, D.C. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. at 8:55. Padres looking for a fifth consecutive win, a series sweep, and a season sweep of the Nationals. Remember, the Padres swept the Nationals here in San Diego back in June, looking for another three-game sweep of the Nats, this time in Washington, D.C. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we walk you up towards first pitch. We'll have our keys to the game, a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up in just a little bit. I do want to get to some of your Instagram DMs and YouTube comments. We have James on Instagram listening in. We also have John on Instagram from Temecula listening in. Thank you for tuning in on this Thursday morning. As always, we ask you for your keys to today's game, and for a Padres and Pancakes morning, we also ask you to let us know, how are you getting ready to enjoy Padres baseball on this Thursday morning? Katie says, key to the game, continue hitting. Seriously, that's it. Oh, and the elite pitching. Katie, you're right. Hitting and elite pitching, that would be a very good recipe. Mountain saying, key to the game, stay aggressive and swat the Nats. Well, Mountain, yesterday the Padres, I don't know if aggressive would be the way you would have described their approach at the plate, but they certainly did a good job making the starting pitcher, Mitchell Parker, work early in the game, and that ended up being very important as they got into the second, third, and fourth innings. We have Elisa on YouTube saying, my kid had 14 mini pancakes and a corn dog for breakfast today. Growth spurt incoming. Well, Elisa, sounds like a good hearty breakfast. And finally, CJ saying, Sammy, heading into Comic-Con, so my morning breakfast will be listening to Tony and Jesse while in lines eating snacks. CJ, hope you have a great time at Comic-Con. Thanks for tuning in. Let's update you on the injuries for the Padres entering today's game.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
We have no new news to report on the injury front, which is a good thing at this point. As we know, the major loss out of the Padres bullpen right now, Wandy Peralta on the IL with a left adductor strain. He was put on the IL right before the All-Star break. Tom Cosgrove also on the IL with left elbow inflammation. He has made a couple of rehab appearances for Lake Elsinore. And the two longer-term injuries, as we wait for further updates on Fernando Tatis Jr. and Joe Musgrove. As we know, the latest update we have on Fernando is that he underwent an MRI exam over the All-Star break, revealed enough healing that he was cleared for light baseball activity, including swinging and running. And for Joe Musgrove, his latest bullpen incorporated his full arsenal of breaking pitches and started throwing harder as well. 3 bullpen sessions so far for Joe Musgrove. He is reported feeling no issues in that right elbow. So that's certainly good news for Joe. We'll see what the further updates are in the coming weeks on Joe and Fernando. And that's a look at our injury report on this Thursday morning. But no real urgent news to report on impacting today's game. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
Well, it's not even noon on the East Coast, so everything is coming up a little bit later on. First game of the day is this one in D.C. That's followed by the Orioles and the Marlins in Miami at 9:10 a.m. Tigers and the Guardians at 10:10 in Cleveland. White Sox and the Rangers at 11:35 a.m. in Arlington. Max Scherzer on the mound for Texas. Rays and the Blue Jays in Toronto at 12:07. Giants and the Dodgers in L.A. at 1:10. Braves are in New York against the Mets at 4:10. Chris Sale against Luis Severino, the pitching matchup in that one. And finally, the A's and the Angels in Anaheim at 6:40 later on tonight. So not everybody in action on this Thursday, but every game coming up a little bit later on. We'll have more on all those scores on our post-game show a little bit later on, probably around, what would you say, 11 a.m. hour, noon hour here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Depends on how long this game goes, and we'll have a full day of programming for you. I'll take you for Padres post-game after the game is over, and then after that, it'll be Chris Ello, Matt Scraby until 6 p.m. First pitch coming up at 9:05 at Nationals Park. Let's give you our keys to the game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
Key number 1, keep throwing up zeros. Padres pitchers have allowed just 4 runs on 14 hits during this 4-game winning streak. Kevin Acee had this in the San Diego Union Tribune this morning. That's tied for the fewest hits allowed in a 4-game span in team history. The only other time they allowed this few runs and hits in a 4-game span was in July of 1984 when the Padres gave up 14 hits while throwing 4 consecutive shutouts. They've just been great, the pitching staff. The Padres' rotation in particular has been terrific. They've put up a quality start in each of the 5 games on this road trip, a 1.41 ERA in 32 innings, 26 strikeouts in that span to only 4 walks. The Padres' bullpen has also been really good. They've thrown 10 consecutive scoreless innings in the past 4 games. So whether it's been the rotation or the pen, the Padres pitching staff has been marvelous in this 4-game win streak. Key number 2, Jurickson continuing to bug the Nats. A home run yesterday to give the Padres the lead in the 2nd inning. Now 3 home runs and 10 RBIs against the Nationals this season. He has at least 1 RBI in all 5 games against Washington. And Jurickson has an opportunity to do something he's never done before, which is have more than 10 RBIs against a single opponent during a season. So if he picks up another RBI against the Nationals today, he'll have at least 11 against the Nats. He's never done that against a team in the same season. That's key number 2. Profar continuing to bug the Nats. Key number 3, contributions up and down the lineup. The bottom third of the Padres lineup yesterday was really good. Merrill, Higashioka, and Johnson combined to go 8 for 14 with a home run. The 7, 8, 9 spots in the lineup are batting a combined .367 in this 4-game win streak. The Padres have scored at least 4 runs in a major league leading 36 innings this season, and a big part of that, the only way you do that so often is truly hitting 1 through 9 in your lineup. And as we know, when the Padres are really rolling offensively, they do get contributions up and down the lineup. So the Padres need to continue both those things today. To have the 7, 8, 9 spots, do some good things, and get contributions up and down the lineup. We saw it yesterday all over the place. Makes it very easy as a baseball fan when your team is pitching as well as the Padres have pitched, and your team is doing things offensively like the Padres did yesterday. And that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back on the Padres Radio Network, we'll address more of your social media posts and YouTube comments. Plus, we tell you what to watch for in today's game. The Padres have the return of somebody in their lineup today, somebody important to their lineup. I'll tell you more about that when we return. And also a very deep dive into today's pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Patrick Corbin. First pitch coming up at 9:05 in Washington, D.C. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after this on the Padres Radio Network. San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. First pitch at 9:05 a.m. in Washington, D.C. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just a little bit more than 10 minutes. They'll come your way at 8:55, the full starting lineups, first pitch, and then all the play-by-play. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as the Padres go for a fifth consecutive win and a 3-game sweep of the Washington Nationals. Getting back to some of your social media posts, we have Mary on Instagram chiming in, and this is a really cool message here, so I want to read the whole thing. Mary saying, how I'm firing up, running, how I'm fueling up, lots of cold brew, key to the game, all games score 6. Everyone can hold it down if we score 6. All of the pitchers have been absolute heroes. So, Mary, appreciates you chiming in, and hope that cold brew is tasty, and hope you're ready for today's game. We have Anthony on YouTube saying he's tuned in from the golf course this morning. Anthony, hope you have a good round, and thank you for tuning in. I also do want to, just because I see it here on social media, a lot of people talking about it. Yes, this morning, bright and early, I was here, in fact, at 6 a.m., a little bit before 6 a.m., when our friends at Ben Woods and Paul, yeah, they saw a cockroach in the studio. Now, luckily, the cockroach was removed. We have not seen another, but a clamoring on social media that maybe the roach was a rally roach for today's game. I guess we're going to find out. Is it a rally roach for this series finale? Maybe the Padres bats can take the power of the rally roach. We'll see. Let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game. What kind of impact does Donovan Solano have? Solano making his first start of the second half, batting second and playing third base today. Before yesterday's game, Solano was batting .292 on the season, and in a span of 16 starts before the All-Star break, he was batting .333 with 5 doubles. Solano was batting .303 against lefties. Padres facing a left-handed starter today in Patrick Corbin. And let's remember, before Xander Bogaerts returned, Donovan Solano was having a major impact on this team. Solano has now been relegated to the bench since the return of Bogaerts. So what kind of impact will Donovan Solano have on a day like today when he gets a chance to start? I'm really intrigued by this. Donovan had been a really impactful player before Xander came back, and now he's on the bench, and I think that's okay. Hopefully it makes you a better, deeper team. But today he gets a chance to start against the left-hander. What kind of impact does Solano have here today? And that's a look at our what to watch for in today's game. Let's dive into our pitching matchup. A good one here today between Dylan Cease and Patrick Corbin.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
On the mound for the Padres here today, right-hander Dylan Cease. The 28-year-old is 9-8, a 3.76 ERA in 21 starts so far this season, 122 innings, 159 strikeouts, 37 walks. His 159 strikeouts lead the major leagues. His .202 opponent batting average ranks top 10 in the major leagues, and his .103 whip ranks 4th in the National League. Cease has been simply dominant lately. His last start against Cleveland, 7 innings, no runs given up, 1 hit, he struck out 10. He's pitched 13 innings in his last 2 starts against the Guardians and the Braves, 13 combined scoreless innings, 2 hits allowed, and 21 strikeouts. He has been nearly unhittable. Cease faced the Nationals on June 26th in San Diego. He was great. 7 shutout innings. He gave up just 1 hit, struck out 9. This will be Cease's first career start in Washington, D.C., and the arsenal for Cease, the four-seam fastball at 44%, the slider at 42%. Also will mix in the knuckle curve, sweeper, and occasionally a changeup as well. On the mound for the Nationals, left-hander Patrick Corbin, 35 years old. He's 2-9 with a 5.35 ERA, 20 starts so far this season, 111 innings of work. He struck out 79 and walked 36. He's allowed the most earned runs in baseball this season, but important to note that he's been better as of late. His last start against the Reds, he was good. 6 innings, 1 earned run given up. He put up a 6.15 ERA through his first start of June, but since then he's actually been a lot better. And this is what we were talking about a little bit earlier with Jesse Agler, a 3.89 ERA in his last 7 starts. So you look at the overall numbers for Corbin today and the fact that he's been very hittable over the years and say this should be an easy one for the Padres offense. But again, keep in mind, a 3.89 ERA in his last 7 starts. He has been a lot better as of late. Faced the Padres on June 24th in San Diego. He was good on that day. 7 innings, 3 earned runs given up on 5 hits. The arsenal for Corbin, a sinker, slider, cutter, 4-seam fastball, and a changeup. And some matchups to watch today against Corbin. Manny Machado, 8 for 24 in his career against Corbin with a home run. Ha-Sung Kim, 5 for 14 with a home run in his career against Patrick Corbin. And Xander Bogaerts, 3 for 5 with a home run against Patrick Corbin in his career. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup today. Dylan Cease on the mound for San Diego and Patrick Corbin on the mound for the Washington Nationals. Well, again, the Padres starting pitching as a whole has been terrific as of late. Padres starters have logged a quality start in each of the 5 games out of the All-Star break. And in those 5 games, San Diego's rotation has a major league best 1.41 ERA, allowing just 5 runs in 32 innings. Again, they've struck out 26 and walked only 4 in that span. The pitching staff's 160 opponent batting average is also the best in Major League Baseball so far in the second half. Let's take a deeper look at this 4-game win streak for the Padres. It has not just been about the pitching. The offense, for the most part, despite a couple of close wins, has been really good. And obviously, when you score 12 runs like the Padres did yesterday, that certainly goes a long way as well. The Padres have scored 25 runs to their 4 runs allowed during this 4-game win streak. That's a plus 21 run differential. And again, MLB best 1 ERA even and an MLB best 120 opponent batting average for the pitching staff as a whole during these last 4 games. Padres offense has hit .314 as a team in this 4-game winning streak. They also have 14 extra base hits in the last 4 games, 7 doubles, 1 triple, and 6 home runs. And a couple of guys who continue to swing the bat really well. One of them, no doubt, is Jackson Merrill. Last 4 games for him, batting .471 in 18 at-bats with 3 extra base hits. Xander Bogaerts, 4 hits in last night's game. He's had at least a couple of hits in 6 out of his 7 games since coming off the IL. Bogaerts is now 14 for 29 in that span since coming off the injury. All singles. But again, the good news is that he continues to put the bat on the ball. And we'll see how Xander and Jackson and the rest of the Padres offense does here today. As always, you've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Padres come into today's game with a record of 54-50. They lost the opener of this 9-game road trip, but the Padres have now won 4 in a row, 2 games in Cleveland, 2 games against the Nationals, and now a real opportunity to make this a winning road trip before they even get to their final stop in Baltimore beginning tomorrow. We'll see if the Padres can win a 5th consecutive game and sweep this series against the Washington Nationals. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our postgame show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.